Welcome to Reads with Rosa. It is my honor to introduce to you educator and author Vinson Johnson, but he is better known to everyone as Wordsworth, legendary Brooklyn MC and Lyricist Lounge alum. Hey Words, how are
How
you?
you doing? What's up, Rosa?
Yay! Very good. Right on. Yes. I know, honestly, I think people are probably thinking I'm a bit crazy and stuff because I'm really emphasizing the fact that it's Rosa, not Rosa, you know?
Yeah, that's your tagline right there.
That's the tagline. So how are things in Florida? Like, pandemic wise, how are you guys holding up out there?
We're doing pretty good down here. It's still some people that is so divided in certain aspects because they've made this health issue a political thing as opposed to just listening for safety concerns. So sometimes it can be kind of like eye opening to be like, okay, common sense. Where does common sense come into play at? Because the same people that won't wear a mask into the store, but then when they go to their job, they know they got to put the mask on. So it's like, okay, you so you respect to do it because you're getting paid here, but you don't respect the public safety, so you're not gonna wear it here. So that's kind of like idiotic to me. And but other than that, it's been cool. It's not as hectic as it was in a lot of the other states.
Mm.
And in city by city, it's coming down as well. I think it was a little kind of um, jaw dropping to see the beaches opening up for spring break
Right,
because
spring break. I was gonna say because I watched the news and I was like, oh my, like, OMG, man,
yeah,
crazy.
crazy. It's crazy down here for that. So I definitely have the beach by me, and it's insane to go out there with the spring break. And flights were so cheap that people booked them so far ahead of time, and things like that.
Wow.
So that's some of the angst and things that's kind of wild about it. But then I think like those are like college kids, and
Mhm.
some are gonna follow. But I mean, I kind of always gotta be as a teacher, as a person, try to make sure I put myself in those shoes. When I was that age, I would probably be thinking,
That was probably you, huh?
yeah, yeah, right. Like
You were like right up there.
ain't nothing gonna happen to us out here, you know. Like I'm going. I wear my mask, and if you drop your mask off, forget that mask. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
just being young and and then also seeing and hearing that them being at that age, it doesn't really affect them. I'm sure that gives them a false sense of security. So, but
mm.
overall, that's kind of the climate down here. So I'm in the classroom, and I wear my mask every day in the classroom, and I just try to be cautious, and I think that's all you can really be.
Yeah, hard out. What's the situation with vaccines? Because I see that like a lot of my teacher friends in the US, they're saying they're getting the vaccines. I mean, are you guys like high priority right now? Like, have you had the vaccine or not really? Not really a
Yeah,
priority.
we're high priority. We're high priority, and then
Mm,
also now you can be 40 and older can
mm,
get it. So anybody 40 and older can get it. I've gotten the vaccine. I got it like a little while ago.
mm,
And I figured better safe than sorry. I've had friends that have passed from it. I've had
mm,
my wife's best friend dealt with it and
mm,
had her mom actually pass from it too. So it's
mm,
yeah, they were simultaneously in the hospital at the same time doing it. So
mm.
it was one of those things of do I want to test this thing out
Right,
and
right.
get it, or try to be as precautious as possible. So
Mm,
I dealt with doing it that way. So yeah, and then being around some of my elders, like my in-laws and things like
mm.
that, my kids. But it is a heavy burden to come home from school after you like enclosed in a classroom with kids that may have it and kids that
Right,
do it.
because you don't know where the families are, that's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
as educators, you don't know, like, you're in there every day, but you don't know, like, where families have been, like, over the weekend, especially the weekends, right? You don't know what people are doing. Or they might be saying that they're, like, physically distancing and they're not going out, but you kinda
yeah.
never really know.
And then you
So
get
that's
alerts. We get alerts like I would say sometimes, weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, maybe every few weeks, and that somebody's been on your campus that had COVID-19, and then kids are quarantined out your classroom
Mm,
and stuff like that. So um, it's just one of those rides that you just gotta kind of do your best and hope for your best on this ride, and then
mm.
at the end of the ride, everybody just gets off safely.
Crazy, man.
Right.
So, a big part of me, reaching out to you to come on here, come on the show was just to really just highlight some of the amazing things that you're doing with your students in the classroom. I mean, I know everyone knows Wordsworth, the MC, legendary Brooklyn MC, and I've watched a lot of interviews where you talk a lot about your music and that process. But I think not enough recognition is given to just the impact that you're having, on your students, on these young people in the classroom, and just the program that you've got running there at your school. So you're a middle school teacher, and
Yeah.
how long have you been teaching for?
This will be 6 years. So I'm a middle school teacher. I teach TV production,
Mm,
film production, and music production. And the class is integrated with six, seven, and eight all together.
mm,
So um, it's cool because it's kind of when you think of that classroom, it's kind of that Montessori approach, and
right,
it's
right.
because you'll have sixth graders working with eighth graders, and
Mm,
then you'll see the confidence levels shifting in different aspects. So a sixth grader is sometimes comes in just super excited what's going on, and because they have the security of the eighth grader to guide them,
mhm,
and then you'll have a sixth grader with an idea, and then the eighth grader wants to support the sixth grader or
right,
seventh grader because they're older, so they like feel like a sibling, like, okay, what do you
mm,
want to do, let me help you, because they're starting to become a little more
mm,
you know young adults. So now they kind of take on that supervisory role and stuff like
mm,
that. So it's a cool mesh in the classroom because you get a lot of collaboration.
mm,
Ideas are flowing from different levels, and then it kind of preps the kids that are sixth graders in the film one, TV one, and music one to be in um, film two and music two the next year,
right,
because now they've been through the kind of the grind and of
right. So
everything.
honing their like leadership skills, right? So that they
Yeah,
can.
and you see a lot of independence break out of that too.
Mm,
So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
that's awesome. And so, um, in terms of like with COVID now, with the pandemic, um, TV production, like how has that impacted the actual learning? I mean, especially for you, right? You're doing music, like film production. How has that impacted the actual learning and collaboration in the classroom?
Yeah. So what I had to do, because we use iPads
Mm,
in the classroom, so I had when we first started, I had to change up the whole curriculum in some regards because of touching and being around each other, and with
mm,
filming, and it deals with us all collaborating and working together in some shape, form, or fashion. I usually do group projects for a
right.
majority of the projects. So what I normally do with the iPads is every class I clean the iPads before I hand them out every class. So every time we switch over, I got to spray them down, I wipe them down,
Right.
then I hand the iPads out. And then also, we used to do like the school news. You would have two people sitting there as anchors. Now you can have one
Mm,
person as an anchor.
right, right.
Then I have one person sitting there at the editing bay, and somebody at the teleprompter is over here, and it's just such a individual thing. So it's a
Mm,
lot of individuality occurring as opposed to other kids being able to stand by another kid sometimes and just like look and see
right,
things.
right,
Kind of
right,
like, all right, y'all can watch, but you got to step back a few feet and look.
right.
So it's changed it up a little bit. So when we first started, it was
Mm,
definitely trying and an issue. I had to skip some things, but then during the next semester came around, I was able to kind of like say, okay, this is what I did before, because a lot of
right.
the kids that were home couldn't do a lot of the things I wanted them to
Oh
do.
yeah, right. Because are you guys doing like hybrid learning, right?
Right. So
So how does
yeah,
that even work with
yeah.
your subject area?
So
Like
I was
that is super difficult.
Yeah, I would have to, switch it up for certain kids, or find programs on their Chromebooks that will work,
Mm,
or say, okay, you have a camera on your Chromebook, there's no reason why you can't film yourself and do your projects and things like that.
Right, right.
Um, then fortunately, recently we got a program called Soundtrap. So we're like part of this pilot program for Soundtrap, which is music, and it has a DAW, which is
Mm.
a DAW DAW, which is a digital audio
Right, right, right.
workstation, right? So it's in the computer now. So for those that want to not have to use the iPads, you can actually just go on your Chromebook and now
Mm.
make beats. So that helps kind of
Ooh.
that aspect of it, and it helps me as far as when it's switching classes, because now there's a class that likes to use iPads, and then I'll have people that only on their Chromebooks. Gives me time to clean up those during planning and so on and so forth. Um, but and then the kids at home, they were having issues. I was trying to find like programs for them to make beats, but now they got a way to make beats. So
So,
it's been working out.
and are you Zooming? I mean, like, obviously,
Yes, I Google
Chromebooks and
Meets.
yeah, are you so you've got that going on in the classroom as
Yeah.
well as moving in and out, talking to different groups, but then trying to man,
Yeah,
multitasking, yeah?
I have my room hooked up in a way too that um what I have an Apple TV in my room. So what
Oh,
I
yeah.
do is if I'm explaining something, I can have one kid take a
Oh, they're
iPad
filming.
filming, and then it's on the board. So the
Oh,
kids,
perfect,
yeah,
perfect.
so the kids at home can actually watch what I'm doing in another part of the room.
Right, right.
Or simply I can just take my computer, which is
Mhm,
has a camera and everything, and I just move it to the section. So
mhm,
when I try to keep them engaged. If somebody's in the booth and vocaling some songs,
right.
I'll take the computer and aim it at the booth and stuff like that. And then the kids in the booth with mask on. That's another thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when they're doing songs, it's mask on everything. So just like taking precautions, and
Right.
my class is a lot of interaction and fun. So I just
Mhm.
been trying to like make sure that I can kind of at some level maintain that same enjoyment.
Sounds hectic as, man. I mean, are the kids enjoying it? I mean, obviously there's restrictions. You've got to wipe things down and do all of that one at a time. But are they coping okay with that situation? The different, like the whole physically distancing and still trying to get the work done.
Yeah, I think what's helped them. Here's the thing with my class in general. It probably applies to all classes, but in my class in general, when we're doing a TV show or filming or making music, you're literally walking into class with actually nothing, right?
Right.
Like you're literally walking in. Only all I do is give you a device. So my job is, how do I bring out what's up here? This is the only paper you have, really. This is the only thing is
Mm-hmm.
here. So I can't read your mind. So I have to help you convert it from there to some paper or typing it or whatever, and then making you see it. So the way that keeps them engaged is the process.
Mm-hmm.
So if they follow the process and they see their
Yeah.
classmates following the process, and they start seeing their classmates get the idea, writing the idea and the shot list down, and then going to film and filming stuff and bringing it back, editing, and then they start seeing it, then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, then it keeps everybody engaged. Like, oh, I need to finish mine. I need to do this. I want to do this next.
Right.
But
Right.
I think the difficulty that we have with kids, which is why sometimes it's hard with reading, is because the process to envision is very difficult. So people that read a lot, they're able to envision more because there's no pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and then so their curiosity is higher too. So I typically find that kids that ask more questions typically have read
Mm-hmm.
often, because the books don't have pictures a lot of times. So the curiosity is every page. So now
Yeah.
they're curious thinkers. And then kids that don't read that often sometimes are kind of at bay because they don't know what questions to ask, or they don't really infer as much because they haven't had the experience of lighting their curiosity so often. So once they start writing their ideas down, and you have to have a process with me. You can't skip it. You can't skip the writing. You gotta write. I gotta know the idea. So once they start seeing that the process works and they start filming and putting it together, I think they start to value why reading and writing is important.
Right. I'm glad you explained that because I was actually going that was my next question. This idea of all teachers are language teachers, right? There's
Right.
usually people are like, oh, if you're an English teacher, if you're a language teacher, it's your job. The sole responsibility is on you. But no, in this day and age, everyone, regardless of the curriculum area that you're in. So I'm so glad that you kind of explained it because I was going to ask, what strategies, literacy strategies are you using? Like obviously you're doing film, music and TV production, but that's your area. But I was just curious about how you were kind of like putting in like literacy strategies to help develop the reading and the writing of kids. But I mean, you've said, there's a process there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's important. It's very
yeah.
important because you know, I'm just trying to show them how to organize their thoughts.
Mm,
And you have to have some, and that deals with logic, you know, if you're filming something, a different angle. Also, the main thing that I try to express to them is like, if you're working in a group and you're absent, what you wrote, can you leave it to the person that's there to complete the
mm,
project? So if you can't do that, then what you wrote isn't good enough, or the way you
mm,
described it isn't good enough. So it's basically, my term that I use is grocery shopping. Can you leave the list for the person to go shopping and bring back everything that you wanted? If your shopping list is not detailed enough for them to go shopping and bring it back, then your shot list for filming is not good enough because some kids are absent. So when you're working in a group and kids are absent, then they get kind of like, I don't know, such and such left the list here. I don't know what they said. I don't know. I don't know.
You can starve.
Right? So that's what I tell them. So I tell them like, that's what I do. That's what I look for when I'm reading it. Okay, if
Mm,
I read this, can I see that's next? That's next. So logically, does that make sense? So it's really trying to keep them understanding, like, if you deal with text structure, that would be like sequence, or
mm,
if it's something filmed in chronological order,
right, right,
things like that. I would suggest every teacher, like I have a reading certification too.
right.
So I taught reading first. I taught reading and TV first before I got film and music happening.
Mm.
But the reading strategies and the respect for teaching reading embedded in me, um, holds me accountable to actually put that as part of the program.
Nice. So your students, like you have actually entered them into competitions before, right?
Yes.
Where they've submitted some work. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, actually, the due date this year is April 7th. So
Okay.
it's been like crunch time, like
Yeah.
who got this? You got this done, and then we can only enter three into each category. It's called a Lee County TV and film um, competition.
Mhm.
So you have animation, promo video, which is like a movie trailer or commercial you make. You have short film, you have comedy, you have PSA, regular like PSA about whatever. Then you have PSA
Mm,
norms, which deals with drugs only, so vaping, alcohol, cigarettes, like that. And then you also have documentary. You have documentary, and I believe that's about seven categories there. Yeah, I believe that's it. I may be missing one. So we we aim to enter in those contests. The previous one, the last one, we were nominated for 9 awards, and we submitted 11, nominated for 9, and won 5. So
cool.
it's pretty good to win 5 awards, out of just that short amount of categories. So this year we're just
Mm,
hoping for the best. We got some cool stuff done, so we've been
mm,
submitting them. I have like up until the 7th, I pretty much in class every day, like, okay, these are the slots open. This is what we got open. Well,
yeah.
yeah, what you got? You got something? You got something? And I've been trying to just gear up for that, trying to fill as many slots as possible. Comedy has been like the hardest one to try to do because what kids find funny sometimes, it's not appropriate.
Right.
I don't have any comedy. That one is kind of like difficult. Or the other one, the other thing is instructional. So I got kids
Mm.
that's like cooking and baking and showing people how to.
Right, and that's so cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
got some real cool instructional videos.
Yeah.
So documentary got a student that's on a cheer team. We
Mm.
got two other students that's doing um, a film called The Academic Pandemic. And so yeah, so
Nice.
it's cool to see. Then when I play those videos, because I got different classes, but then I play some videos from other classes and
Mm.
show them what's going on, then they're like, "Oh wow,"
Yeah.
because kids being in their class, even though we teach other classes,
Right.
they have no idea that other kids do work. It's like,
They just hang out in there
yeah,
and, play
they
around with the iPad.
right, like I'm here, I'm not getting my stuff done. Like
Yeah.
I, I'm sure every class is like that. Then I play
Right,
something from
right.
another class, and they sit there and they go, "That's good, that's good." And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, you could do as good as that too. Let's get to
Right,
it. Let's get
right.
so that's what's been kind of cool having examples from prior years. So now I'm
Mhm.
building up a catalog of previous things that I can show,
Yeah,
which lets them go, oh, that's what's the name. That's what's the name.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
snap. Wow, I didn't know they could do that. And so I got videos like we got rap videos. We got that's the other category, music videos. So we got
Right,
rap
right.
videos, and so it's just it's a fun time, and I think that kids like when there's a little competition involved. So
Right.
that's what that's about.
And that's awesome. Do you remember your first day of teaching? You've been teaching
I
6
do
years
remember.
now,
I
and
do.
what was your first day of teaching like?
Um, this was just, kids would come in, try to make sure I was polite, just kind of like observing the behaviors of, okay, who's going to be respectful, who's kind of trying to test where I am with where I am with my behavior, because they're trying to gauge us too.
Right, right.
Um, and then I was teaching a book called Inside. So, I was a reading teacher first, so
Mm.
teaching Inside. So making sure everybody had the book or they had it on their computers, and then the kids with computers they try to find video games while you're up there trying to teach that. Uh, so I really wasn't concerned. I believe like having those professional developments, those PDs, and teaching is so many acronyms, it's out of control. So having like your PD, you oh my goodness. So having the professional development prior, that Cine week, which where it's like you before you go to school. So school starts in August. So
Right,
we're there like mid July or end of July, like of two
right.
weeks before school
The
starts.
orientation type
Yeah,
thing?
like orientation type thing, exactly. And then so that builds your confidence a little bit. And then that also you're planning with the reading team. So you got the
Mm,
reading coach and the reading team, and y'all all aligned up as far as curriculum and things. So you know what you're going in to teach. So having
right,
that game plan going in helps it a lot because you can kind of say, okay, this is what we're doing within this
right.
hour. So those lesson plans and things like that, and having that reading team. That year I had my reading team was Mr. Harney. So Coach Harney, he's still there, and he just helped guided the team. We all stayed on track, and that's where it went to.
Interesting. How do you think your students would describe you as a teacher? What do you think they would say? Like, are you like the cool teacher or nah? I
I,
mean, are you like the strict teacher? Like, what would they say? Do you reckon?
I think it's gonna be a majority cool because like um, I relate to a lot of the things they've done or they do
Mhm.
currently. Right? I'm into a lot of the music they're into. So when they come in, they say an artist, I'm asking who's that, and then I think because the basis I'm inquiring about what they like and do, it builds a better bond. So I'm not like you walking with headphones. I'm not like yo, take your headphones off. I'm more like
Right.
what you listening to. Then they
Right.
tell me what they're listening to, and I'm like, oh, let me check that out. Then I'll play like the instrumental in class, and I'll be like, oh, it's kind of fire, or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Then my lingo is like, oh, this is fire, or like this is
Right.
dope, whatever. So them seeing that I understand where they're coming from, um, I think helps also for them to listen to me when I'm saying certain things about how there's a balance in the world. So I'm like, I'm in here and I love everything y'all do and I do a lot of your things y'all do, but then you got to be able to switch when it's a job interview. I can't talk like this. So I think me showing them that I can relate to what they do and how they act outside, and I'll even be give them examples like, yeah, I'm in here, and I'm gonna talk to you guys so it's easy to understand. But then when I leave, I'm outside like, what's going on? What's good with you? What's happening? Like they can't fathom that I do that, but I showed them like, yeah, I
Uh,
talk regular like this too with my friends.
yeah.
And then my oldest has had students that I had in her class.
Wow.
So they actually either imitate me to her. They used to do that. They used to do that. They'd be like, your dad be like, boom, so we gonna do this and this and that. Yeah,
Oh,
because
what?
yeah, so
It's
they would
it's the
imitate me.
actor in you, right? It's the whole actor, like.
I just try to, what it is I try to make sure I give a balance. And I
Mm,
think that's very key for me. It's like um, I don't tolerate nonsense, and the kids know that. But I explain why. Like I'm not just gonna be like, hey, don't do that. I'll give you like a little story about it. Like, nah, no, you don't want to do that right there. You're gonna do that. That's what this happens here. I remember when I was doing this, and I think that helps them understand as opposed to just
mm,
saying, don't do that,
right,
or stuff like that. So I like to explain, and I think
right.
that's very key in those situations in which it allows the kids to bond with me. And then the other thing is the kids Google me. They Google all the teachers now. If you're a
Right,
teacher,
right.
you're getting Google. You know what I'm saying? They Google every teacher, so most of them know I'm a rapper ahead of time. But I never bring it up. I don't even bring it up. And they bring it up, or they know that they see my classroom how it's designed. They might notice. They'll be like, I heard you're a rapper. I'll be like, yeah, I did, do it. But I'm never like um just like promoting it heavy
Mm,
because I need to build a bond with you just off the basis of you wanting to be inspired to learn. Now, if you show
mm,
me you want to learn, then I can say, all right, cool. So you in the rap, let me show you how to do this. But if
mm,
if I bond with you on some music stuff, then you kind of like gonna ask so many questions about music to me. So I've seen
right.
that occur. Now it's like, oh, so I heard you're a famous skier. So now you're like, so let's read chapter this and that. They raise their hand, got nothing to do with the question. So,
Right.
Mister, how often do you ski? It's like, okay, that's not what we're talking about here. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Focus, focus.
The focus is totally different. So I try to find a balance with them and say, yeah, I'll talk to y'all about all that. If we
Right.
get this done, let's do this. And then by the time the bell rings, they forgot all about the other part because they don't.
Yeah.
You know how that happens. So
Man, what a pro. I love it. Okay, so I wanted to talk about like outside of I'm going to get to music in a bit, but outside of music
mhm.
and teaching, we talk about like self-care as educators, like what hobbies do you have? For example, are you like secretly a golf player, or do you play b-ball, or are you into DIY gardening? I
Yeah,
mean, what do you do outside of music and teaching? Like for
yeah,
self-care purposes, right?
yeah. I mean, I used to play basketball here and there, but I haven't gone out to play basketball that often. And then maybe because I've heard a lot of horror stories of people at my age now. Yeah,
Be like, ambulance, can we just call this guy an
yeah,
ambulance?
still thinking they could do it and tearing ACLs and MCLs out there. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be that person yet. Do I?
Right.
I'm up here gauging it. Do I want to play in May and June, and then something happened, and then my whole summer I'm sitting up in the cab? I'm gauging it like that, like, okay, do I want to play here? And then I'm absent all this time. I can't risk it. Yeah, I'm in that stage of it now. But you know, I like to play basketball. Yeah, I love
Right.
to play basketball. But for the most part, I'm a thinker for the most part, and just trying to like figure out how to use my skills all the time. So like literally right here is my setup. I got my mic right next to me and everything. The microphone
Right.
is right here and recording and doing music. So I think trying to maintain that passion in the literary aspect for me is the best thing I do.
Mm.
And then just like watching movies and sitting with the family around,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. So trying to have a laptop on my lap at the same time, listen to the TV at the same time. So just trying to just do that balance. But I don't really it is no like real jogging and things like that happening like that. It's really a
Mm.
lot more just what other literary things can I do to or fulfill
Mm.
with my skills. So looking at like a Tyler Perry, you see he writes every show script, and
No, right?
it's insane type stuff. Like I have to make sure I'm doing as much as I can, but as much as also as much as I want to. Sometimes it's fine to do what you want to too. So
Right.
because you could beat yourself up mentally. So I just try to make sure I feel secure in my balance of what I'm doing, and
Mm.
I enjoy writing books and doing writing stuff that could hopefully become TV shows and
Right.
all these
Right.
other things. So that's my exercise. Really, I just like to think.
How much longer do you think you'll be a teacher? I mean, and like
Uh,
not asking like that, but do you how many more years do you I mean, yeah, do you
I
see
see me riding this out until like I guess a retirement age. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? Like as long as I'm doing other things, I think I don't mind teaching. And
mm,
that's been very key for me to be a
right,
teacher is that I have that balance of once I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock.
right,
I got to make sure that the amount of energy I put into working for somebody else and with somebody else, I need to either equal that or put in more. So if I'm not
mm,
putting in more for myself, then I don't like the job.
mm,
That's how I have to live because what happens is being a teacher, you can lose yourself
yeah,
in the job and you're off the clock doing work. And
mm,
I tend to try my best to avoid that at all costs. You
mm,
know, yeah. So yeah, I don't have instances of me coming home and I have a whole bunch of things to do. I avoid that at all costs. The most that I've done recently coming home is like uploading the kids' videos for the contest. That's
right,
it. Other than that, like, you know, put in Google Classroom, I get to it, I look at it, write 100, comment, send it back to you, call it a day. But like, we do other things, right? We're
mm,
teachers, but like you said, teachers are people.
right,
And there's other things you want to do, but you have to really say, I can't work hard for this and not work
mm,
hard for myself. And I really
right.
think that's important.
I wanted to talk a little bit because, um, the statistic of like 2% black male educators, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so are there other like black teachers at your school or teachers of color? I mean, what's the like student ratio like?
It's actually, I would say, if I don't want to forget anybody, one, two, three, four, five. I believe it's five. It's six of us. Six out of
Just
maybe,
6?
yeah, I think six out of actually seven. Seven. I'm trying to think of all of them. I don't know I would say seven.
Mm,
If I had to think of it, I think it's seven of us there at the school out of, we talking about 90,
mm,
maybe. Um, So, yeah, it can be problematic as far as having examples,
right,
and it's really, I would say, more so. Um, it seems like, of course, it just seems like there's more women teachers in
right,
the
right.
classroom, um, and then there are males there as
Mm,
well. But then, okay, but then it's not like males of color. So then now,
right,
males, you got females, but then you got a few females of color and a few males of color, and then you have, you know, you're trying to be an example. So
right.
the fewer examples you have, the less you likely you're able to believe to become something,
Mhm.
right? So kids want to be athletes because they see it constantly. They see it on
Right.
TV, so that's their almost go-to. It's fun to do too. It's
Mm,
something fun to do. But being in the classroom, I would say I think having to be there and hearing students say, "I didn't know you could be a teacher and a rapper." It's like, okay, cool. That's why I'm here.
right,
That's
right.
that's why I'm happy to be here because now you know. So now as you grow, you can say, I'm gonna do some music stuff, but I'm also gonna go get my doctor degree or whatever you want to
Mm,
do. You can say, you know what, I saw Mr. Johnson, so the balance, you can do it both. I think that's the issue right now is that kids aren't able to see the examples of being able to do both. And they don't even know we do both a lot of times.
right.
And then I think
Um,
teachers too. The
mm,
flip side is teachers not necessarily um, being acknowledged for like saying that they can do both. Like sometimes even like saying like it's possible to a kid. Like, hey, you want to be on a football team, but to the path to that is this educational aspect.
mm,
So sometimes the conversations you gotta have conversations.
right. And so it's leading on to my next question. Oh, I actually wanted to ask just real quick. Do you network with other black male teachers? Like, is there like a kind of a network or support group? Perhaps not just for black male teachers in the area where you work, or just BIPOC teachers in general. Yeah,
Yeah, I do. I talk to other hip hop teachers, like Jay Rawls. He's a
yeah, yeah,
professor
yeah.
now. But he's a professor now. Oh, I talked
Wow.
to Breeze Bruin, from
Right.
the Juggernauts. Queen Heroine, who is in Juggernauts as well. She's a teacher.
Mm,
So there's like a hip hop
right.
teacher crew that
Nice,
exists,
nice.
and we discuss, really, we talk about life things, but also
Mm,
we do acknowledge that hip hop can be infused
mhm,
inside the classroom as well. So we are always just excited to understand that we are the bridge to a lot of these conversations.
mm.
So that's always exciting to be a part of that.
That's cool. I was wondering, like obviously we talk about education buzzwords, diversity, data driven, empathy, anti-racism, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? There are all these buzzwords out there. And it's especially with the socio-political climate there, maybe not just in the US, but I think globally, a lot of institutions, like educational institutions, are really questioning, I guess, looking again at their recruitment processes. Who do they have in front of the classroom, the
Right.
kind of people they're hiring. Now, okay, so let's say, um, obviously representation is important. Who are our students seeing? Do they see role models that look like them? But
Mhm.
in the situation when there are no BIPOC teachers, right? When there are no BIPOC teachers in the school, what advice would you give to teachers who are not Black, Indigenous people of color? What advice do you give those teachers in regards to, building rapport and engaging with students who don't look like them in front of the class?
I remember we had a school faculty meeting and I stood up and I was like, you know, telling them what's going on, like as far as
Mm.
what's in to bond with the kids. I'm like, belt buckles, kids like the belt buckles a big thing. Did y'all know that? I'm just like letting them know, like, you
Right,
know,
right.
you know, when they're listening to certain music, you should ask what music they're listening to.
Mhm,
If they're drawing, you should say, hey, what comic books you into? Let them know that you're into these things that deal with what they're into. You have
mm,
to, listen to what they're into. It doesn't matter if it's a white kid, black
mm,
kid, Asian kid, or whatever.
absolutely.
I ask whatever it is. I'm trying to find out if this country you're into. Oh yeah, who's the hottest country artist? What song is that? Okay, let me. And like I said, I'll go play it in the classroom. I find instrumentals. I'm looking for the clean versions. Like I'm
Mhm,
showing them, like, oh, this is kind of hot. I'm letting them know that I'm into what they're into, no matter who it is. So if one kid is in the country here, one kid is into K-pop here, one kid is into that here, they see that oh, cool, Mr. Johnson is into everything. He's not only into what she's into or he's into everybody's stuff. So it makes it feel more family like. So
Right.
I would just say, feel, ask questions about what they're listening to, what
Mm,
they're doing. Because we'll complain of, not will, but like me and you, but people will complain about the music and complain
mhm,
about what they may be watching, but they don't ask about it. They don't
mm,
say, why you like that song? What's that song about? Let me hear that song. Oh, that lyric is kind of cool. That right there, it's all right. But you know what? Have you ever heard of such and such? Now you can make a recommendation
mhm.
and things like that. So if you want to build that bond and also kind of help gear and steer and gear them towards something else, I think you have to ask them questions that have nothing to do with the class.
Right. Or even just getting to know them outside of the classroom, right? Depending
Right.
on like what extracurriculars, whether it's drama or musical or even sports or sewing club or I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
just
yeah, and then
that
and
kind
then
of stuff, right?
taking those things and actually trying to help them get in the right classes. That's a whole
Mm,
nother thing. So
right.
I'll have a student that actually helped us out in one of these videos. She draws phenomenally. So my thing is asking her, "Are you in Mr. Hartman's art class?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm in there." I'm like, "Okay." Then I see other kids drawing, and I'm like, "Are you in such art class?" And they're like, "No, I don't know." And I'm like, your skill level is like next level with this
Right.
drawing. You probably should be in there. So I'm encouraging them. So I'm trying to
Mm,
make sure I acknowledge their gifts at the same time and
mm,
showing them that I want them to be in certain places to
mm,
encourage them. So I have some students that may act. Now I don't teach drama, but I do know about acting from being on TV stuff. So
mm.
I'm not Denzel, but I can say, I can guide you though
Right, right.
through the questions you may hear because of the things I've heard asked or been in meetings when we've
Mm,
asked people during auditions. So I'm looking at it like that. So I differentiate it by
mm,
everybody in my class. You pick your project, you pick what idea you want to do, and then whatever it is, I work with you on that. So you may not be, and then sometimes I may have a student that's not doing the project the whole class is doing. So if I have an eighth grader that's about to graduate and they're into acting and they're into writing scripts and things like that, and we're doing PSAs right here, that eighth grader, I'll just work with them on that because I know this is the launching pad and the final launching pad they may have with somebody that can guide them with that. Because I don't know
mm.
who they're going to meet in high school. So once I find out what you're into, I kind of gauge where you are with me in the classroom, and I change it up. So that's
Mm.
where I just kind of switch it up for everybody there.
Have there been situations in the classroom that have inspired you to write music about them, about your students, or about
Yeah, I think yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I got a song on this next album. It's I'll send it to you to hear. But it's just about students. It's about teachers and all of that. So yeah, I got a song. It's actually one of my favorite songs I've ever written. I think to me personally. So it's getting mixed actually right now. Like
right?
so, I was speaking to the person yesterday about getting mixed, and yes, I'll send it to you to check it out.
Awesome. I want to ask you this question. You know how Kamala Harris, she became the first woman of color, vice president. I mean, how significant? Like, you are raising two daughters. Um, how is that? How is her being in that position? Like, how significant is that for um, you know, children of color, black children in the US, like young girls, how significant was that win? Like from the perspective of a parent, right?
Yeah, seeing is believing. Right.
Mm,
So me as a young kid, all I seen was white presidents. So I never would even expect that what could be black president.
mm,
So now as a kid, or even as adults now, they can see there's an example. Examples are very key, right? You gotta have an example. So,
Mm,
and sometimes you can become the example, which like a Barack did, or like a
mm,
Kamala Harris. But when those kids are born now, they know that it's possible. When you're younger and you don't have an example, that unfamiliarity with possibility can hinder the growth in which you're inspired to achieve things. So you need to be able to see things and say, "Oh, I seen such and such do it. Let me do it." But then there are us that will go, "Well, I'm gonna be the first one to do it," and that's cool too. But I think you have more people looking for an example than more people that necessarily say they're going to be the first a lot
who is your superhero alter ego and why?
of times. Oh man, I always say I like Wolverine. I love Wolverine because there's like a passive aggressive vibe with Wolverine sometimes, and then if you like he could be chilling, and then
Yeah, yeah.
you do something, then he's like, okay, just chill, like trying to calm the situation out, leave it,
Right,
and
right.
it's like gets crazy, then it's like, all right, see now you got me out of character now, you know what
now
I'm
now I'm gonna have to go all beast mode on you.
yeah, right. So and then he has this empathy for
Mm,
people.
right, right.
It's empathy and sympathy for people that he shows, but he has to sometimes also have it subdued. But and then I respect the fact that he's been there for years and seen experiences throughout time, and those that have accumulated, and yeah, that's why I like.
Do you think you're famous? Do you know you're famous? Are you famous? Do you
I'm
consider
I'm
yourself to be famous?
I think I'm famous to an extent. Yes.
And so, in saying that, what things have you learned about life and the human condition from being recognized through your music and your past endeavors, like such as like Lyricist Lounge, like having music on films and children's shows and stuff like that. Like, yeah.
Um, Bigger purpose, and recognizing the purpose. Like, some people recognize it early, so
Mm,
they're able to do it early. I think it took me time, so that's why you hear me rhyme differently and trying to figure myself out, find myself, and then some of these things I've experienced. I had no coach, I had no teacher prior to me. I'm like
mm,
the first of in a lot of aspects. So realizing that what I'm saying is actually affects a lot of people and affects the way the world is. Um, and understanding that when I'm here talking to you and somebody's listening to my song, they're in a car, some people are crying, some people are smiling, some people are dancing, some people are nodding their
mm.
head, some people are getting inspired to do that. So just the understanding of it doesn't stop with me laying a verse. So the importance of my purpose with the wording is what I've learned overall of me being here is just like take it seriously. Take it seriously with your writing. Is it gonna help convey a message that somebody else is feeling?
Now, I watched like just some really like just some videos from way back, and I think people always talk. They always ask you, "Oh, what would you do? What happens if you're not a rapper anymore? What would you do?" And numerous times you would always say, "Well, I'm a writer. Even if I'm not a rapper, I will still write." And so um everyone go buy this book, What Words Are Worth, Volume 1, New Beginning. You're the
Yeah.
plug. So this you wrote this last year, this book here. Um, and I really like it because I'm one of those when I listen to music, I'm always thinking, what possessed this person to write this? Why are they saying this? Who are they saying it to? Is it an experience? Is it something? Is it a story that they've, you know, written from scratch and have kind of I mean, I have all these questions. I'm one of those listeners when I listen to music.
Right.
And that's what I really like about this, right? Because it just gives us insight into your um just the stories behind the album, right? So
Yes.
for those who don't know, this was an album dropped in 2015. New Beginning with, is it Donnell Smokes? No, did I say his name
Yep,
right?
yep, yep,
Yeah, I
Donnell
think.
Smokes, yep.
Yeah, and so I want to read something because actually that's not my question. My question is coming. So my question is in regards to the foreword. Now I'm one of those people. If I read a book, I'm kind of like I skim read. Like I
Yep.
really don't read the foreword. But this foreword is amazing. I mean, it just I think it really. Let me just read this small part. This is kind of one of my favorite parts. This is written by Master Ace, the man. I'll let Words talk about Master Ace soon. Okay, so he says right near the end, the beauty of Wordsworth's writing is his ability to bring the listener into those windows, giving us a glimpse into the lives of strangers. His words keep us hovering outside of each room so we can learn about the pain, struggle, and strife of these people, as well as the joy, love, and triumph of others. And honestly, like it's powerful, it's insightful, it's thought provoking, and I think it just really speaks to your friendship, right? The bond, the brotherhood. And I was wondering, um, how would you describe Master Ace in 5 words? And I know you're probably like, 5 words? That's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, 5 words. I would say big brother,
Mhm,
brother. I would say disciplined. I would say meticulous.
mhm,
I would say funny. And I would say um, caring.
mhm.
So
'Cause man, yeah.
those that's Ace, and I can say the reasons why. Like once I hooked up with Ace, and we went on tour. Like he brought me on tour for 15 years with him.
Wow.
Um, and I learned so much being around him. Like, I'm younger than him, so he had experiences prior to me, right? Like that's how that is when you're older, right? So he taught me to like slow down. So like if I was like, yo, we should do this and that, he's more of a, all right, we gotta do this first. We can't do all of these things at one time right now. It's cool if you multitask certain things, but this right here, particular thing. So he brought a certain seriousness out of me and dealing with the business and
Mhm,
understanding going on tour and getting your money. The tour man is supposed to do this. This is the gas is going to come out of this. We got to budget this. This comes out of here. So at the end, this is how much everybody gets. And so it's a lot of things that dealt with the business that he helped me organize, and I'm grateful for that. And like I said, he brought me on tour for 15 years straight. So that's
wow.
um, no, never had an argument ever, on the road. All of us never had arguments. We just were all bonded like brothers, and yeah, he knows me. He knows me. I'm like the little brother to him,
Mhm,
and he's my older brother, like, because I can talk to him about every and anything. And we're very similar,
mhm,
like he went to college in Rhode Island, graduated. I went to college, graduated. So we have some of those things in common too. He's from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. We both have that. So then we also know the way Brooklyn is. So it's like, man, you can't do this, you can't do that. Yeah. So it's almost like brothers born apart, and then we met, and then it was just like a perfect situation.
man, that's super cool. I want one of my favorite songs. I mean, I believe. I love believe. I think as an educator, it resonated with me. The story, like the story behind the song, like it resonated with me. But one of my other favorite songs, that you talk about on here is Diamonds. And
Yeah.
I wanted to know, what was it like traveling to South Africa? And did you know anything about apartheid, like prior to going there? Like, I mean, in the US, obviously, racism's, like that, racial injustice, that's a whole nother thing there, right? But then when you travel to South Africa, I mean, what did you already know or perhaps didn't know about
Well, I knew a
apartheid?
little. I knew a little bit about apartheid, but you only know a little about everything until you go or experience it,
Mhm,
right? It's like, you know, this restaurant I heard make great cookies or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or this bakery makes great cookies. you're like, oh yeah, I hear that, and you're excited about what you hear about it. You haven't even tasted it yet.
Right.
So me going there, it was life altering. You know, I knew about apartheid, but I didn't know how difficult it was to experience. And it was just like a modern day like slavery in some regards. Like basically, like there's stories in there that there's things I didn't even put in there. I don't think I put, like, I was told like they did a pencil test. So they
Mm.
would put a pencil in your hair, and
Right.
if the pencil fell, then that said what texture you was, which described what you was. If you were downtown and you were black, you would have to have a pass and a book,
Mm.
and said that you can be downtown at a certain time. And what's so mind blowing about it is that this stuff is in color. This is not like, you know, like, you know, people trying to guess what it looked like, or,
Right.
you know, speculate. This is actually documented in color. So you can actually see like old speeches of people on TV with showing racist waves, and pictures, so it's well documented. And that's what I think is jaw dropping about it, is the fact that it's so currently documented that you can actually see it. So going there and experiencing it, going to the Hector Peterson Museum and being in there and seeing it documented, um, it makes it more real to you, because
Mm.
you just, it's incredible. So being there, it changes your mindset. And then to see how far it's come to be in South Africa too. So like going to the mall, and
Mm.
they had the radio station in there, YFM, and going there and being able to freestyle on the radio, and
Right.
they got their own commercial stuff going on too, and then they got some underground stuff, and then they got big events, and so you start to
Mm.
see that, and then understanding that there's a sense of pride in South Africa,
Mm.
to not let the past hold them back too much. Because I was like, man, apartheid just kind of ended in the '90s, and y'all like kind of all cool. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like, how do you do that? But then, I learned there was some white people that were
Yeah,
actually,
there's a whole another like
yeah,
layer of you
yeah.
know
There was some white
what's
people that
going
went to
on.
school with black kids. I didn't, so some of these things that you don't know, you really can't really guess. And then they were like, well, if we were to stay holding on to that anger and things that we feel about those times, we wouldn't be able to move forward. So
Mm.
I'm sure there's definitely some reservations of anger and turmoil within, but there's also like, trying to figure out how to balance it. And I love South Africa. I love it. I love it.
Mm. Um, so what is your most personal song that you've written? Is there a song that is like really personal to you that you've actually written that is based on, I don't know, experience or
Yeah, I would say, one of my favorite songs I've ever written is called "The Oldest."
mm. I
Um,
like that song from the Photo album.
yeah,
I like that song.
even though I'm younger, I'm the
Right.
youngest.
Right.
The perspective of it, and just the way it feels. That's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. "Shoulder" is like a huge record
Yeah.
for
Mirror
me.
music. I like that.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big record for me. "Guardian Angel," people to
Yeah.
this day. Um, and I think those songs really gives you a sense of my humility, my
Mm.
sympathy, my empathy, uh, my observations, and the fact that I care about other people's perspectives.
Mm.
So I just try to, write things from other people's perspectives for the most part, but there's always a verse in there that's me.
Right.
So every song you hear, there is a perspective of
Mm.
me in it and things I've gone through.
Mm.
Uh, on this new album, I got a song called "Can't Win," and it's basically about, working at a job for mad years, and then you don't get promoted, and they hire a new manager,
Right.
and now you're training the new manager that knows less than you,
Mhm.
and the frustration that entails. So that's everybody's been through that in some shape, form, or fashion, in some way. I would say,
Right.
when I mean everybody, I mean you know, a nice amount of people. I don't mean everybody particularly, but a
Right.
general like nice amount of people. If you work retail, if you work at a regular job, it could be anything. It's just somebody
Right.
always recognizing somebody else, and you've been there. You know, overnight, you put in all this work. You know, some people go home crying about it, like, man, I didn't did all that, and then they just gonna move this person here who I helped do all of
Mm.
this here, and the verse pretty much ends with that person that's being trained asking me why they ain't move me up, and it's
Okay.
like, you know, and then the second verse is a female perspective of her working at a law firm,
Mhm.
and you know, they're looking at her body and they're looking at her from a physical standpoint, not recognizing her mind. And she's done everything and she can't get equal pay and all this
Mm.
stuff here. So she can't win. And so those are things like I like writing about stuff like that that resonate to people every day on a feeling. So it's more so taking a theme and then what's my perspective for the theme. So can't
Mm.
win is just really the theme. And then it's like, what perspective do I want to do with can't win? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, there's some people that are as writers or artists, like can't win would be like, I'm better than you. You can't beat me. I rhyme like, you know what I'm saying, right? But a lot of people's initial approach is they can't win. You want to go against me? You know, and I'm like, that's you know what I'm saying? No.
No.
Uh, so it's finding all these different scenarios in which people
Right.
can win, and then
Mhm.
you have to kind of dwindle down to what's an important scenario of you feeling you can't win. So that's personal. That's one of them. The teacher song, very very reflective of
Right.
me.
Right.
It is me. That teacher song is me 100%. I mean, there's so many songs that's me. Trust, you know, that song with me describing how I used to treat women, and then I had a daughter, and all of
Yeah,
that.
I read some reviews on that, like Mirror Music, right? That's from that
Yeah,
first album. Side note, NFTs. I mean, there's been like the past few weeks, lots of talk about it. Everyone's talking about it.
right.
People selling off crazy stuff like digital art and all that. The reason why I ask is because you dropped your released one just
Yeah,
recently.
yeah,
like the
yeah,
NFTs, for those who don't know, non-fungible tokens. But everyone's talking about it, and I noticed like a week ago perhaps that you really I don't know, do you say release or you dropped one or you got
yeah,
one now?
yeah.
What was why did you decide to do that or
That's
get on board with that?
it was the past few weeks. I was getting calls about it.
Oh, for
Like,
real? People are hitting you up? Okay.
yeah, like my friends, like,
Mm.
yo, you see this NFT thing? I'm like, nah,
Oh,
what
it's everywhere.
yeah, so then I seen Gronkowski sold for a certain amount. So I started seeing little things happening. I was like, what is it about? Then big shout out to Sam Brown. He's heavy into this internet stuff with all of
Oh,
that.
really?
So
Wow.
he calls me about it. He's like, well, he called me like weeks ago about something about it. He's always calling me and we talk. When we talk and I call him, vice versa. He's always up on this latest things going on in the
Yeah.
tech world. So he hit me up. He's like, man, this NFT, this and this and that. I'm thinking we should do an NFT for this. We should do an NFT for that. I'm like, all
Right,
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 cool. So then he's like, yo, I got an NFT, boom, boom, for you with this and that. So he sets it up, and I said, all right, let's do it. So we just drop it, just to kind of just do it and be ahead of the game. Now I don't know if it's gonna sell or not or whatever, but just the
right.
fact that it's occurring, I'm excited about it. But I got, and then in our group chat, there's a group chat with me, Ace Strick, my boy Gates, my boy
Mm.
Power, and Steve, the Angry Merch guy, which people know him as
Right.
on the PMC album. Uh, and in that chat, it was popping off, the NFTs.
Yeah.
Then Sam Brown called me. Then my other boy, DeMar Douglas,
Right, right.
um, who's a
The
dope
artist, yeah.
super artist,
Yeah.
he hit me about it. Like it was just coming from everywhere. And then Sam Yeah, I was just like, I don't know. I guess
You're like minding your own business there, and then
it was just coming from everywhere. And then Sam Brown showed me the one. And he was like, "Yo, I got this one hooked up." Boom, boom. And he's like, "Yo, it's a
yo,
wallet and all that." So we was discussing all that. So he's really on that heavy, and I trust him, and we trust each other heavy. And he's like, so it's set up so if it makes money, get royalties and all these things
right,
like that.
right,
Which, ironically, nobody's really ever really been thinking about it, but it has been spoken about
mm,
when I learned a lot about this dealing with when I went to school for music business, and it was like it's like an underlying discussion was in terms of copyrights and stuff. This same thing with the NFT selling and getting royalties consistently as it goes and sells and moves and
mm.
trade has always been a discussion based on records being sold used.
Ah, okay,
Right? If you sell your album, if you buy an album from me and you sell it to your friend, I don't get anything. Then your
mm,
friend
mm.
sells it to the record store. I don't get anything.
Right,
When
right.
the record store sells it again, I don't get anything.
So,
Then that person sells it again. So that missing all of that money there has
mm,
always been an underlying issue dealing with the music industry. So NFTs have solidified that. Also, it'll probably become that way for music. So,
mm,
but now that music is so digital, there's no real tangible thing there. But when you
right,
got an actual tangible good like that, how do you regulate it? And this NFT
mm,
with art and stuff helps you, allows you to regulate it. I'm sure there'll be like frames in your home, right? And you put a
right,
program
right,
in, and your frame has your
right,
NFT,
right.
almost like a jersey on your wall.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but for those that are artists that have been painting canvases for years, and
Mm,
your painting sells at an auction, and you don't see nothing, past who's it was transferred down to. This NFT thing is great for people in that regards because used records. How many times? You imagine how much money James Brown would have. You
yeah,
know,
how they
you know, all these
crazy.
old artists, Nina Simone.
Mm,
If you were to think about how many artists they go digging buying used records. Imagine if they were able to say, I sold this here, and then there's a digital tracking system that gets you royalties from used sales.
yeah. No, because it's funny because actually, like, I think it might have been the week before or 2 weeks before, week before I saw you drop it, right? I saw you post it, and I was like, "Ooh, what do we have here?" Because actually, I was listening to, I love Lupe and Royce. I'm always tweeting about it. I was listening to the Lupe and Royce show, and then they had brought on this lady to talk about NFTs, and I remember watching it, and I was just like Googling, looking it up, and then bam, Nick Minute, I saw, oh, Wordsworth. Like, I was like, what? Three posts too? Oh, come on now. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people talking about it. It'll be interesting to see you know, how
Yeah,
it pans out.
I just watched on CNN. They had this African artist that's making a lot of money from it.
Mm,
To another artist that does digital design that
right,
makes a
right.
lot of money from it. It's cryptocurrency though,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
crypto, but you can cash out. From what I know, you can cash it out in some
Right.
regards too. I just wanted to be a part of it because
Mm.
seeing where the wave is with it, and then it's good to have that teammate there, like a Sam Brown and somebody that can just like show me where to go and then make it happen and stuff like that. So it's very key for that. So shout out to Sam.
Nice. I was wondering influences outside of hip hop that have helped form your style, like poets, performers, other singers, like musicians, like bands. Who are some of those influences outside of hip hop?
Um, Outside of hip hop, I don't really have many, honestly, like that. But when I was in high school, I was heavy with buying R&B. It's at some point, I just stopped buying R&B.
Okay.
But like younger, R&B was like a thing to do. Like if you was in high school or whatever, you would go buy a R&B record. Now it's like if you're a
Right.
hip hop person, you're like, I'm not buying no R&B. Someone was like, nah, I'm listening to this only. It's real
Right,
stuff.
right.
But my style, honestly, what I had to learn was how to basically take a careless one uh, way to say something clearly.
Mm,
Take a Busta Rhymes showmanship and flows.
Mm,
So that's why if you hear me rhyme on stuff, my flows all over because I learned that you got to
mhm,
be different beat, different flow. This one here, this I learned that. So I know where all my styles come from to make who I am.
okay.
I can identify it. So you got Karis One being able to say something clearly that when I'm on the mic, I'm very clear and the sentence is what it is. It's not gonna be
Mhm,
like too mumbo jumbo. Busta Rhymes, flow wise, being able to, hear a beat and say, I'm doing this flow. So that's how
right,
you get
right,
to,
right.
hit you with some mysterious, so definitely did it, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay, okay.
that's not natural for just a rapper to say, I'm gonna do that flow, but you have to
Right.
be able to say this beat, I'm gonna do this flow, and I'm fine with that. Then a Nas is very influential on me. A lot of people say they hear Nas with my storytelling.
Mhm.
And then Cool G Rap is also within me because of most of those people, the Nas's and everybody, Jay-Z's always refer to G Rap. Because
Right, right, right,
G Rap is that bar.
right.
Um, so those I would say those four right then and there is how you get me in a way. And then little things maybe a Rakim, but not really. But
Mm,
those four right there is how you get me. So you're gonna get me with a flow that's crazy, different sometimes,
mhm.
just whatever. I'm not afraid to do it. That's the other thing. I'm not afraid to do it. So as an artist, you gotta not be afraid. So that's why you get a lot of artists that maybe same flow, everything. I'm not
Right,
afraid to
right.
try anything. I'll do the quick time flow, whatever, and then you'll hear each one, and then that's what makes me.
What song do you have stuck in your head these days?
Um, I like that lemon pepper freestyle.
Okay.
Um, what else? What else is in my mind? I like that, but then it's also I love that. I love the Drake song with Lil Durk. Laugh now, cry.
I need to Google it because I do not listen to Drake. I'll
Oh,
Google it. I'll Google
really?
it.
I like these songs. They like
I
good
don't like Drake.
rhymes. I like that. I would say I like Benny the Butcher album. I listen to that.
Right.
I love that. He got this song called No Introduction, and
Mhm.
then he got a joint with 2 Chainz. He actually got a video for it. I
What?
love 2 Chainz verse on there. Oh man, I love 2 Chainz verse on that song. Fire.
Okay.
Um, so I'm all over the map with it though. But like I'm overall, my favorite album that I could throw on any time is Curtis Mayfield, the
Right.
first album. Like if I that's actually my soul. I'm a Curtis Mayfield, Al Green, all of that era is me when I write. So that's what I am. I'm that soul. So when I hear something, it has to hit me like that. So
Okay.
that to me, that era of music is the best era of music ever. I don't really hear many hip hop records that make my soul shift or give me
Mhm.
chills. Unfortunately, they made me get excited. I like hearing it rhyme and competitive level, but like if you throw on like Curtis Mayfield, Darker Than Blue, and you play that We the People Darker Than Blue, and that come on, it's no joke. Like my body feels that. You know what I'm saying? If you ever watched the movie Claudine, that's one of my favorite movies ever because Curtis Mayfield wrote the whole soundtrack and had Gladys Knight singing it.
Wow.
Crazy stuff. So that's really my makeup as a person, integrity wise, based on what I provide for people. Hopefully,
Mm. So interesting to like kind of see just how you guys came up, in the hip hop scene and stuff.
right?
But we don't see that. We don't like if you're outside like looking in, we get to see the violence and people being shot and all that. Like were you guys I mean, was that not I mean, I don't know. I didn't know how to say it. Like was that not happening where you guys were living, like violence, like gang violence and all that kind of stuff? Were you Yeah,
Yeah.
did you guys not have to deal with that or
Where I lived at in Brooklyn, it's like Kensington, Brooklyn. It's like one step from Flatbush. Like literally, like you cross the street, you're in Flatbush. Like it was like that. Flatbush is one of the hardest areas you could grow up
Okay.
in. And then where I live at in Kensington kind of has some of that residual effect of
Okay.
Flatbush is right there. So you better at least be knowing your stuff here. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
But it
right.
wasn't as brutal there. So um, I grew up around my sister older than me. She grew up more so involved with gang stuff. So
Mm.
her best friend knowing gangs, and my sister, Decepticons was a big gang back then, which is where you get Sean Price and Rock and Rock
Ah,
as a Decepticon. So they grew up in that gang area. So that's
mm,
Rock and Rock from Helter Skelter. So that was a big gang thing. And my sister used to know a lot of those gang members. So she used to bring them by the house. And so I kind of knew that. Then my cousin, he lived in Flatbush too. He was part of a crew there too. So I had older siblings that were
mm,
so well established that they pretty much protected me in some regards.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like, oh, that's Kim's little brother, or that's
Right.
Ness' little brother. That's Elliot's little cousin. That's his little cousin. So I was fortunate to have that around me because
Okay.
back then it was very serious. Like it was very wild. A lot of those when you go to school, on your way home from school,
Mm,
and things like that. So I still had my own integrity and pride though, because you grow up with a
right.
lot of pride. So excuse me, to this day, man, I gotta be very thankful that I made it because
Uh,
like I used to have like I don't know if you've seen old pictures of me, but I had like jewelry, like chains, and my hands flooded with gold, and like I used to wear a lot of jewelry. You never seen that stuff? I
Sorry about you.
yeah, but yeah. I got pictures with it. I had this Gucci chain and all that, and I used to have to wear
Why?
because that's what it was back then. Having all that. Remember, these are what the rappers was wearing. You had Slick Rick and Kane and all them wearing big Gucci chains and all that.
Where'd you
So
get the money to wear that stuff?
that's your parents. Parents do that stuff. Birthdays come around. What you want for your birthday? I want to get a Gucci link and all of that. So I was wearing a lot of jewelry, but being able to make it from Brooklyn to Manhattan on the train and then back home from school every day. And you got other schools getting on the train.
Right.
So it's no joke. So I'd be like, man, I made it. I made it through that. And there's a lot of people based on the same thing I'm talking about, jewelry and all that died, got killed.
Mm,
You know, my sister's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend at that time, on this train line that I catch, the F train
mm.
that goes to Coney Island. Coney Island, is where the amusement park is and everything there. Everybody goes there for Easter. On his way home, he got killed for a Nike jacket, because everybody's going there to Coney Island, but catching that train. So you got to
Mm.
deal with everybody coming home. So over a Nike jacket, so it's so crazy just thinking about it. So if I show you pictures, I had like polo goose that I had the stuff. And
Do you look at those pictures and you're like, "Oh, cringe?"
no, no, I
Or
look
you're like, "Oh, I look so cool."
No, I look at him. I look at him like wow, like I made it through
You
that.
survived. You survived, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like it was no joke back in the days with a lot of that stuff. Like when you wore certain things and you had to be name brand heavy coming up. Even I would say it's name brand is still a thing, but not when you talk about early '90s when fashion really was just starting to pop off and all the rappers you were trying to emulate and they would
Mm.
say the name brands in the song and you want to go buy that, Jabos, whatever they said, you were like buying that. It was heavy back then. So yeah, so I just look at it as a blessing.
Crazy.
Yeah,
So
I got pictures of it. I actually showed the students the other day because I was like, yeah, I know I was 15 and like 14-year age, right? Like, and they were like, yeah, but they can't see it. They can't see it. So
right.
I showed them pictures of me at their age. I was like,
Did
yeah,
they laugh? Did they laugh?
yeah. They were like, yeah, they didn't laugh really. It was kind of like that still looks a little like you there. Yeah.
You haven't aged.
And then they'd be like, why you got that big chain on and all that, But that's cool.
What is the like, thinking about your 6 years now that you've been teaching, what has been the most challenging aspect of your journey as an educator? in these 6 years?
I think the most challenging thing and frustrating thing is when you get kids that don't listen to what you're trying to teach them because you understand that them not listening, they don't understand the damage they're doing to themselves. So that's very harsh. That weighs on a teacher heavy. Like when you got a student that you're trying to teach not doing their work and they're acting crazy or whatever they're doing in class, you like, all right. You get to a point that you just like, all right, my lesson isn't gonna. They're not getting my lesson right now. They want a harder lesson, I guess. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
you get to the point that you realize you can't save everyone. You can keep trying though daily. Every day is a new day. So you reset. You keep resetting with that same student, and you just try and try. That can be the most difficult thing because even once that
Mm,
kid leaves the class and you sit sometime by yourself, you just can be like, man, they don't even understand where this is going. Like what they're doing, they don't even get it. They don't get it. And then some kids go through that, and then another teacher may affect them, and you see them later, and you be like, "Whoa, you made it. Okay, you're doing all right, good." And then they come up to you and be like, "Oh man, all that stuff you was trying to teach me, I wish I was listening." It's like it's all good, you're doing good. I'm glad to see you doing well. So sometimes it's frustrating because you're hoping the outcome isn't as grim as you may think or suspect. And then
mm,
the most rewarding part is when you're able to bring what's up here to something that's tangible.
mm.
So that's why I love doing the videos and
Right.
the music videos and the stuff like that. Because kids come into class, they don't got no beat, they don't got no bars. They come in, then it's like, all right, you make a beat. Then they go, now, how does beat sound? This, next thing you know, we want to write a song together. All right, write a song. Then they go in the booth. Then they record it. Then you got a video. I mean, they came in there not knowing anything
Mm,
about that. I mean, I really have some kids that are into music. Then I got kids that come in that's just like, we just want to try it, and then they do it. So that's the most rewarding thing is help showing them that what's up here comes out and it becomes something. So I try to explain that to them with phones. I'm like, well, you do know there was an iPhone 1, right?
They used to be like block phones, like
Yeah, but they don't think about that because they're
Mm,
so in the moment that the past is it's not even fathomable in some regards to some kids.
mm.
So when you say there was an iPhone 1, they go, really? I never, because they never thought about it. Because they got 12 and 13 and whatever other numbers are out. They're just getting it coming out of being a fifth grader, sixth grader. Whatever you get is where
Mm,
you start. So if I give you PlayStation 5, you don't care about PlayStation 1. It ain't even in your mind. You think that's your starting point is this.
right, right.
You're not thinking about that. So that's what's rewarding for me is helping them be able to take anything up here
Mm.
when they're doing something in their mind, like I want to do this, I don't know how to do it, and then showing them, and then they see it and they go, "Yo, I can do that. I can do it." So
And what was an early life experience where you learned that there was power in language?
when I realized there were power in what I was saying was when we would like freestyle and do things in
Mm,
public school, and on the way home, you got a group of people wanting to hear what you're gonna freestyle about and rhyming, and then like
mm,
me battling sixth graders and stuff like that in the yard and
right.
seeing Scooby and Tino that went to my school at the time. They were sixth graders and I'm fifth grader, and we in the yard freestyling, and people go, and stuff like that. So then on the way after school, it's the same thing. You rhyming, somebody beatboxing, and I'm going to the school, and you don't know what you're saying. You ain't rhyming probably or whatever. And seeing that people were following and watching and paying attention to what I was saying, then I think helped me understand that um, okay, this rap thing garners attention.
What accomplishment are you most proud of?
Um, Life accomplishments would definitely be like my kids. You know what
Mhm,
I'm saying? Like having them and like being able to see them and look at them when they just walk through the room, and I smile like
yeah,
wow. So I would say my family. My wife, mad supportive of me.
mhm,
She's been there. I mean, she's been with me for since I've started,
mhm,
before TV and everything. And then I would say one of the I guess major accomplishments would be like writing the book because that's something I always wanted to do. Um, and that would be, I think that's really where I'm at with it. Like, kind of just putting out. I think here is one of the biggest accomplishments, if not, let's keep it in this table, is actually putting my material out.
Right.
You know how many people we meet with ideas that never put them out? So that would be my biggest accomplishment besides family stuff is putting material out. There's so many people that watch this, listen, and
Mm.
they're like sitting on ideas that they started. So starting and finishing is the biggest accomplishment. I pretty much whatever I start, I typically finish it, which I'm
Right.
very happy about that. So I got other things I'm working on right now, and I feel confident they will come to fruition.
Nice, nice. I have a question about your wife because she's beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Do you think you'll put out an album with her? I know this. I've never heard anyone ask that. I was like, yo, I'm asking this question.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
dude, because,
funny. It's
bro, because,
funny.
she does like, mean as vocals, right? On a lot of
Yep,
the tracks. So,
yep.
dude, what's your
She's on.
excuse,
she-
man?
She's on this album on several ones.
No,
Yeah.
but it's
And
not not as
It's funny you say that.
BVs.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. She's on this album. She has her own stuff out too. Anita Ross.
Yeah.
She has her own stuff out. She's on this album pretty heavily too. But it's funny you say that because when we get in the studio together,
Yeah.
we be clashing. You know, like we be like, yeah,
Shut
it's funny.
up.
It's
No
funny.
way.
Yeah, you would think it's just like straight like that.
Right,
Yeah,
Mish? Nah.
yeah, you would think it is, and what's it's difficult sometimes. But we we I think now we're starting to do it because like I got a beat from Kels with the Heat the other day and so you like this beat? So I'm like, okay, she can do the song and then I'll come
Right,
in with like a 16 on there. So I think we're getting working more towards that. So like on this album, you'll hear her
right,
more
right,
more on this album, like doing hooks. She just yesterday she's on the teacher song,
right.
she's on the Can't Win song. Yeah, so it's
But
more, yeah, yeah.
that's
But,
just
but
BVs, right? That's just the hook and the BVs. But like actually like putting an album out is just a
well, I'm
whole
gonna tell
nother
her. I'm gonna tell
level.
her you asked me that question, but
Bro, come
it
on.
is that it's that vibe of we clash in the studio
Mm,
ideologically,
right.
ideologically, whatever the word, but ideology clashes
Okay.
with what we like. So that's what's so crazy is that's the situation. Like you know, I know some couples that yeah, there's a lot of couples that that rap husband and wife that
Right,
are
right.
together, they don't put no music out. It's a lot of that because it's as dope as it seems. When you get in that studio, you got to sit there with somebody, and you might hear something and they don't hear it, vice versa. Or they like a beat you don't like. You're like, okay, I could be in here by myself. I could be in here by myself, knocking this out.
Yeah.
You start getting that by like, well, you know what I'm saying? What we gonna do? Because I could be here right now knocking out my song on this beat
Right,
because I
right,
like this
right.
beat a lot. And that person's the same way, like, well, you don't hear this? I'm gonna take this beat by myself. I'm gonna um but yeah, I definitely I got a beat the other day from Kels with the Heat,
Mm.
and I believe that'll be our first one heading towards that.
What are the values that you 100% believe in?
I believe in, you know, I'm a spiritual person, but I really believe in right and wrong, you know, using common sense for right and wrong. I'm not into no particular religion. I'm not uh into no particular Democratic Party, Republican Party. I'm kind of like, if that makes sense, that makes sense. Things get politicized so much, we can't have a normal civil society because power has corrupted people to the point that power outweighs civility.
Mm.
So those are some of my values, and then just helping people, and also saying what's on your mind. If saying what people ask you, if somebody asks you, just tell them the truth. Like straight up, don't be afraid to say what you really feel to somebody if they ask you and they want to know. Um, and so if you ask me, I'll let you know what it is, and not being afraid to hear no, and not being afraid to ask questions. That's very key too. So those are some of the things I just kind of stand by and live by. If you ask me, I'm gonna give you an honest answer. I'm not gonna like be tell you something and then be go around your back. Oh, another thing is whatever I can say to somebody else, I can say to you. So it's I'm never talking behind nobody's back. Like if I feel like, yeah, he was tripping that day at the game. I don't know why he was doing that. When I see you, I can be like, yeah, you was tripping today at the game. Like, I live by that heavy because
Right.
I don't want to say nothing to somebody that it feels like conspiring,
Mm,
So I rather whatever I feel about you that I can say to somebody else, I want to make sure I can go, yeah, I wasn't really feeling when you did that, and I think
right.
that's why I think a lot of my friends like that about me. Like they'll
Mm,
call me and get my opinion on things because they know I'm gonna keep it 1,000.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And it could be I got some friends that's like celebrities and they'll call me and if I see them do something crazy and they ask me, I'll be like, yeah, I wouldn't have did that though. I'm not gonna be a yes man with
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And if they ask me like, yeah, this and that, and I'll be like, yeah, but you could have did it this way, and it makes them go
Mm,
like, and I'll be like, yeah, I want to do that. So I'm gonna keep it 1,000 just off the base of that, and you either like it or not. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. But at least I'm coming straight from the purity.
what things in life are still a mystery to you?
Um, Sometimes it can be like confusing to identify your purpose. I think that's always a question every day. Like you'll be like, I'm here to do this. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing this and do this. And then you might hit a bump in the road and then you're like, I thought I was here to do that. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to do this.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, I am here to do that other one thing. Oh, I thought I was here to do that. It's like finding your purpose sometimes can can have you up and down on a roller coaster. You could be very confident in it. I feel I'm confident in knowing my purpose, but then it switched. Like I thought I was gonna be this huge mega rap star and that's what I'm here to do. And then I realized God is like, yo, you did all this rap stuff so that way you can become a teacher and then mold this generation of people so that way they can change the world. So now I'm like, wow, okay, I thought my purpose was here to rock and give you some bars. You know what I'm saying? Now I
Right.
realize in this teaching. Then it's like, okay, nah, but then your purpose also is to write a book about the boss and now that somebody can read it. So it's like changing every day because of I'm evolving with doing different things. So I think that's the most questioning thing we all have daily that we deal with is, you know,
Mm,
oh, I want to try. I do want to do. I don't know my purpose. I think our purpose is a huge thing.
it's a wrap. It's a wrap, bro. Dropping the jewels. Damn. Was
I just
I,
try to be.
I
I just
that
try to
was
be.
like mic drop moment. If I didn't have a mic slip, oh I do, but
I just try to be a realist from my experiences of people of everything. I've been around people that sold drugs. I've been around people that didn't sell drugs. I've been around people that had parents on drugs. I've been around people that had fine lives. My mom, has raised me to be very middle. I've had friends that if you came home from jail, my mom never judged you. She would let you in the house. My
mm,
mom is very in the middle unless you do something. She goes like, well, you judge people on what they do to you. You don't judge them on what they may have done past wise or such and such. You give them a chance, and then if they do that, then she's harsh. She's like, and that's how I am. So I got that balance from her heavy. That's how come I am how I am. So I see everything from a middle standpoint before I just jump into this. So I think that's what allows me to be who I am is the fact
yeah.
that that plays into my songs.
Yeah,
To
I
my
wanted to ask, like EMC. This is, oh, I mean, no, it's not like not part of the question, but just curious. You know, EMC, is it the show? The song where it's a dedication to the mothers.
Yeah,
Which is your verse?
you let me grow. That's the name
Yeah,
of
which
the
is,
song.
yeah, that one when it's a dedication. So I've always wondered, and I always forget to ask. Like, yeah, I was always curious. No, just talking about your mother right now. I was just like, were you raised by your mother? Like, you
Yeah,
didn't have a father,
I
or
was raised by my mom and my dad, Carver. He was my stepdad, but he's my dad. He was there to
oh,
raise.
okay. So that's what I was when you were talking. I was like, wait, I was trying to think back to that song, and I was like,
Yeah, my biological dad, he passed away when I was like 11, maybe like
ah,
11, 12. So I never really got to know him like that. So that one of the
I
things about
see.
it is just the fact that I remember I had a moment to go see him, and that's in my mind always too. I have a
Mm,
mindset, picture in my head of looking up the steps, and my mom asking, "Did I want to go see him?" And I said no. So that
mm,
stains my mind because I could have went to go see him. But being that he
mm,
wasn't in my life for so many years, why would I have feeling like I want to go see somebody? It's like a stranger, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to go see
mm,
at that young age. So I never did until, when he passed or whatever the case. But yeah, I was raised by my mom. My mom is just like one of those people that you can talk to and she'll give you a perspective of positivity.
mm.
But like, you know, when if she not feeling you, she gonna let you know, what I'm saying? So that's my mom. So that's how I am. I'm pretty much like just like that. I'm tell you what it is, how I feel, whatever, whatever. And
Mm,
then if it's something crazy, I'd be like, oh no, I'm not feeling that.
right.
So I think that's a great way to be because you're gonna get 100% what I think at that time.
Mm.
It's not flip floppy.
See, I had to. I was wondering when you mentioned it, and then I was trying to think. I was trying to think back to the verses. I was like, which verse was? That's cool, man. See, learn something new every day. Book recommendations.
Yeah, so
Wait, have you finished reading Charlemagne the God?
oh man,
Stop being a boot ups, man. Come on.
no, I got I actually got, it's a balance with this stuff. Like, I'm going to read the Charlemagne Shook ones. I read the first Charlemagne book, loved it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Like
Shook
privilege.
ones I
Yep.
will read. I got a couple of books here that I got as gifts that I haven't been able to get to. Uh, Honestly, yesterday we just finished writing another book with my friend and two of my friends. We just finished a book based on an animated film I wrote
Right.
yesterday. So
Nice.
we had a
You've
meeting.
done it. You finished. Woohoo!
Yeah,
Congrats,
so
bro.
now I got to go back and kind of fix some things in it,
Right.
but we were discussing the cover and
Nice.
things like that. So sometimes I have to. I guess the Audible books would be better, but I'm always thinking of trying to find a balance of me investing myself in listening and watching everything
Mm-hmm.
other people are doing, and also making sure I'm spending enough time doing what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's
I
a
hear
hard
you.
balance. Like to be reading books, reading books, reading books sometimes, and then like, dag, all this time I read all these books, I need to make sure I'm writing my stuff, writing my stuff, writing my stuff. So it's a hard balance. So I will get to it, but right
Yeah.
now I wanna. I guess I'm competing to get my stuff out.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Um, but as far as books, so I got my boy Kerwin Phillip. He got this book. It's called Malik's First Job. So it's
Whoa.
about a kid that wants to go get a job interview and
Mm-hmm.
then making money and stuff like that. But his father gives him the principles on how to manage his money. So this is good for young adults that want to manage their money and things like that. So we teach a lot of young adults. So some of them are kind of like trying to figure out uh, once they get a check, first thing they're thinking is shirts and sneakers and stuff like
Right.
that.
Right.
Or they spend all their money and they're not thinking about like I'm gonna buy a shirt and sneaker, and then after you go with your kids somewhere or hang out with kids and you go shopping with them, it's like I just bought some shirts and sneakers. I'm hungry, and then you say, okay, you got money for food, and they be like, nah, I don't got no money for food. It's like they don't foresee all that.
Right.
So that's a great book for that right there. So that's what I've been working on. But before
Nice.
we go to, you got to shout you out because my book, this one here, she helped put together the audible version of that, which I'm waiting for my boy Franklin to fix these little
Right, man.
whatever. I'm at the point of like it come out when it come out. By the time it come out, I have another one. You know what I'm
Boy, hard. I was gonna say, is there part two coming out? Volume
saying?
two?
Yeah. I started that too. I actually started
Hey,
sent it to my editor, the guy that edited that, Brian Kaiser. So he actually started editing. We're actually doing the Sam Brown album. Our Word
nice.
Today.
Guys, you have to read this book. What words are worth? It's honestly, it's like buy it on Amazon. It's like 100 pages. 99 pages to be honest. 99
Mhm.
pages because page 100 is the links where you can get on social media and get in touch with words. I also want to say, like, I was trying to be all like, nah, I'm all good. But like I got a shout out in the book and I was really excited.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I'm all good, nah, humble. And then when I saw it in the book, I was like, took a photo, sent it to my brother. I was like, oh my God, I got shouted out of words. This book is like, yo, that's so cool. I was like, yeah, I was trying to be all like, no, I'm all good.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
crazy. Like I didn't know, you know, that was the hardest part about writing the book, the thank yous, to be honest.
Mm,
Because so many people have been influential. Like I can't, it's like for people that know, like I updated that book consistently or for people just to thank them. Uh,
mm.
and then one of my coworkers, he said he got inspired by actually Mr. Sandomal,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
into music. He actually, before the podcast came about again, he saw my book and he saw his name in print in there, and that's what inspired him to start the podcast again.
Oh, bro, that's
So,
awesome.
I feel like you know honored that people seeing their names in there, it gives them an extra boost. So I'm happy that that occurs because I I really I really appreciate people. It's hard to thank everybody, but I really do. So if I forgot somebody, it's not on purpose. It's almost like at a point, like I was like, I feel like copying that thank you for every book I do and keep adding.
And then it's gonna be like, why is 3/4 of this book thank yous?
Mhm.
And then a quarter this guy with his 1/4 of a book and 3/4 of thank yous.
All right. I almost felt like
Bro.
that. I think the next one I'm really just gonna say just thank certain people, but I can't.
Mm,
I don't know if I'll do the same lengthy one I did before, but I
yeah.
just felt like it's the first book, and to get to that point, it's so many factors and people that have inspired me, and so meeting you in the midst of doing the audio version and
Mm,
knowing that I could update the book, it only was right, because on the audio version I can't thank you. You can't do nothing on there. They have a certain particular parameter, so
mm.
I think it's only right to do that. So I try to go all out for people that are friends.
Appreciate you, bro. You're so inspirational. And honestly, whenever that audiobook drops, I can't wait because I feel like I wrote those rhymes. I think I've memorized everything.
Right.
I memorized track one all the way to
Yeah, and I think what
bro.
it
It
is
was an
too.
honor.
It's a different type of book. So
Right.
some of the issues that's holding the book up, I'll give an example. I had actually a freestyle at the end, and they said I
Yes.
couldn't do a freestyle.
Right.
So I had nixed the freestyle at the end. Like I was trying to do
Right.
things in this audio book for like change it up. They was like, no, you can't do that. This doesn't do that. And then you fix it, and then they're like, you need to cut 3 seconds off the end. You need to add 1 second here. Then my boy that's helping me do it, Franklin Grant, his father's like a well-known engineer and mixer
Mm.
and stuff. Used to do like Mariah Carey, all this stuff here. So I trust him to mess with it, but he's out here now shooting like Love and Hip Hop, but I
Oh,
gotta be patient.
bro.
Yeah, I gotta be patient though. Like
Right.
so it is what it is because I
It's
trust
all
him to
good.
do it, and then he'll do it, and then when it's done, it's done. But I can't let that stop me. So that's the cool thing about like having book two. That joint might come out. Maybe they drop together audio versions, and I was like, you got both. So I just got to make sure I keep going.
Okay. And when's the album dropping? Just before we wrap it up, you've got a couple of projects coming.
Yeah,
Um, uh, any that you can just drop, or what's coming up? You've got a new album. Is it a
yeah.
collab or is it
This one is
solo
me.
album?
Yeah, solo. Me and Kels with the heat.
Mm.
And then I got an album with Superstition. That's like
Yo.
shout to Superstition. He had COVID, and he said he posted it was the hardest thing he ever had to go up against.
Mm,
So I'm glad he's doing well, and that'll probably drop maybe, I don't know, maybe end of the year, maybe next year or so.
mm.
Depends on where that is. But right now, it's the next solo album that I'm excited about with these songs I got. Like, I think it may be like a 10 song album, and that's
Okay,
it.
cool.
Yeah,
Look
so that's
forward to it, man.
yeah. I'm gonna send you a song. I probably let me see. We can upload once we cut off here. I'll probably just upload it for you and all
Okay, bro. Honestly, Wordsworth. It's an honor, man. Like I have like a million more questions, but like I
that.
hear you. I know you're busy as I like. Yeah, we got a bit carried away there, huh? But
Nah,
you
it's
know, I
all good.
appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for coming on the show. All the best. You know, blessings for what's left in the year. What you know, book projects coming up, music. You know, I look forward to hearing what's coming.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about to send you a song.
Okay, we're good.